But also, Disney has other problems too, because right now they have problems with their Santa Claus right now, because Tim Allen is back in the news again. And
Oh God.
it's more related to the Pam Anderson thing as well. But this time it's coming from Patricia Richardson. Now, Patricia Richardson worked on Home Improvement, and she played his wife on the show. And she said that actually one time, now again, if you remember this the other day, we talked about it. Well, Pamela Anderson said that Tim Allen flashed his penis at her. Just saying. And so she was 23 years old. This happened. It freaked her out. She's okay with it, but she put it in her memoirs that came out. Well, now Patricia said, well, there was one time where Tim did something very similar to her. But this is a different situation, but I still want to bring it up. So during a live audience show, Tim Allen was wearing a kilt, and he looked at her and he cracked a joke and he lifted up his kilt and he flashed her, but he was wearing boxers at the time, right? So he cracks a joke, she laughs, the audience laughs, but she thinks about it now and she brings it up in a recent interview because of this Pam Anderson thing. And here's what Patricia had to actually say about the whole situation that went down that day on set.
People ask me what was under the kilt when he flashed me. He was well dressed under there, Richardson said in a statement to Fox Digital News Wednesday. I was just shocked that he lifted the kilt, not by a man in boxer shorts.
Yeah. Well, just the fact that he did it, I guess. That's why she was shocked. So maybe she expected to see a penis and she didn't. Joanna, what do you think about this? Do you think this is a normal thing to be doing on set?
First of all, I'm flabbergasted. When she said he's well dressed under there, what does this even mean? Like, nice boxers, all of his clothes, like he had a tuxedo going on down there. I was confused. I'm like, what is this? What are we talking about? Additionally, okay, now here's the thing. This may or may not be known. Tim Allen is a huge dickhead in real life. I was going to try to mince words and make it a little colorful and pretty. No, he's like a full-on dick. He's an asshole. He really is an asshole. I have friends who have worked on his shows. Everyone knows it. It's very common. And I think his real name is actually Dick, which I find interesting or something. It's in there. And so I find it lighthearted if he did the kilt, because usually, obviously, I think we all know that Scottish men who wear kilts don't wear anything underneath them, right? So that's how it's supposed to be. So when you go to flash someone, I'm like, that's supposed to be like, holy crap. Oh, just kidding. You're well dressed under there. Interesting and funny story. And everyone laughs and that's hilarious. The Pam Anderson thing, I believe it. I find it hard. I don't like when, and this is the whole Me Too movement whole situation. And I understand that this is also going back 30 years, 20 something years. This was obviously a long time ago. She was 23.
Yeah.
Don't love the fact that it waited until the Me Too movement happened for her to be like, I was sexually aghast at this person who was flashing his penis at me. And I was like, it didn't keep you from keeping your job though. It didn't keep you from being like, haha, that's so funny. Let's get to set and I'll be the tool girl of set.
Yeah, she did it for years.
She did it for years and years, and
Well,
never.
she said afterwards, because he said, I never did that. That's ridiculous. She came out and said that it wasn't a big deal, but it happened. She said it didn't really, not that it didn't bother her, but she was it didn't affect me profoundly, but it was just something that happened. She also said that Sylvester Stallone offered to buy her a condo and a Porsche to be his number one girl. I don't know how much of this shit is true. I'm gonna be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
it just, that sounds fucking weird. And then she was like, "Is there a number two girl?" And he was like, "Welcome to Hollywood. This is the best offer you're gonna get." I just don't really see anyone saying that at all.
The question though.
He's like, everyone else is my number two girl. That's everybody else.
But
is it a joke that he does though, the flashing thing? I guess he was wearing a kilt, so maybe that's a joke during the kilt. But is that a thing that can go down? It's if he's teasing it in front of people like that, who's to say that? And maybe he did do that kind of joke, and maybe he did have boxers on when he did it to her too, Pamela Anderson. She's elaborating the story because maybe it's something. It was a joke that he did, But who's to say that his penis was actually out?
to say that though.
Stop saying penis.
How many times can we say it on this show?
I'd like to. But my thing is, and now even though I led with Tim Allen is a dick, right? So I'm like, it goes along. It's a dick. He's a dick. It goes together. I will say this: if she was like, it didn't really bother me or affect me, I'm like, I don't know if you know what land we live in, because that affects the person that you're talking about a whole bunch of a lot. Like if I say that I was like in a sexual situation with somebody that I wasn't comfortable in at the time, but now I'm cool with it. It does real bad things to that person and their reputation in that moment. So I'm like, it's less about like, maybe you should be smarter and be like, if it didn't bother me, then why am I sharing? As opposed to, it's not like she's talking about a sexual predator. It's not like she's talking about somebody that has been confirmed or found guilty of sexual crimes where what he's doing to her was like a lead up to that moment. You're talking about somebody that doesn't have that reputation, and you're pulling them into a conversation about you that ends up jading other people's perspectives of them. So.
Yeah, and that's thing. Everyone's starting to believe it now. That's what happens too, especially when someone like this says that. It's like all of a sudden, it's like we're gonna think now we're here just talking about it. How many other people are talking about it now when no one was saying a word about that? And Tim Allen's gone through a lot of shit in the past, and I feel like he's just kind of coming back with the Santa Claus shows, and Disney's kind of like using him again, and it seems like he's kind of getting back into that limelight because he's had some political stances sometimes that have hurt him. I think his career. With Disney at least, and he's trying to getting back there. Sabrina, do you think this is going to affect in the long run, or do you believe Patricia at all? Do you think this is a joke that he does normally, or do you think this is just something that happened?
She made it very clear that it was a joke and he was being funny. She wasn't upset by it. She didn't give a shit about it. Like she made it very clear that it was not a big deal, that he was just being funny. Like they resurfaced, I guess, the clip or an outtake of him doing that, and so she responded in defense of him. Like she wasn't responding and saying, "Oh my God, he did the same thing to me." She was responding and defending him,
and she was
joking.
Like,
it was a joke. He had clothes on underneath. It was like all for the sake of a laugh because he's a fucking comedian. She was defending him,
right? And she didn't say something like, "Oh, the same thing happened to us, but he was dressed."
Correct.
So that she was responding to the fact that was a leaked something, and she was saying what was her experience with that leaked footage,
which was completely different. She was she was defending him. She was like, he did nothing wrong.
Yeah,
it was a joke. It was funny. Everyone laughed. The audience laughed. I laughed. We did another take afterwards. You know what I mean? So she was 100% on his side. Also, Joanna, I've heard the same thing, that he's an asshole. But I worked on Last Man Standing, and I also worked on a movie that he did, and he was super fucking nice in both instances, to be honest. And I mean, the movie, the girl, it was the mom from No Ordinary Family. She's not No Ordinary Family. Oh God, Modern Family, the blonde one, Julie Bowen. Played his wife or his girlfriend or his love interest, and it was like a baby shower. So there's very few of us. There was like maybe 9 of us that were there.
And she was
super, super nice. But there was like a very small amount. He came in, started cracking jokes. It was talked to all of us, asked all our names. Like he like hung out with us, as did she, and it was super cool. Like he was really, really nice. And on Last Man Standing, it's a sitcom, so it was like live studio audience type situation. And he was making jokes all the time. He'd come on set, crack jokes with the stand-ins, everybody. Like it was a very fun time, being on set with him. So, I mean, I don't know. I have heard that before, and maybe there is some truth to it, but, maybe he just got caught on a couple bad days, because my experience with him has been nothing but good.
I appreciate
it might just be like my mom came out here one time, and she was walking around the CBS lot and bumped into him, and he introduced himself to her and said hi to her, made her day. So, you never know. It's how you catch them. But I have heard the same thing, Joanna, about him before from multiple people too. So it's just, it just depends maybe the day that this person's how they are that day. And maybe there's bad days, good days. For me, I always say, if I see somebody for more than 3 days and they're the same, I'm like, that's that person. I give them benefit of the doubt a couple days. But by day 3, if they're still acting like a jackass, then you're a jackass in my book.